From the heart of the motherland to the ears of the diaspora, this is a conversation they don't want us to have. Today we go beyond touchdowns and trophies into tradition, truth and taboo.
Oppression is found in misuse. I don't think it's found in a specific structure.
He's a pro linebacker in the NFL, but off the field he's a son of Africa, a builder of legacy, and a man with a message that might just flip the script on modern relationships.
Polygyny breeds secrecy, it breeds jealousy, and it breeds all of these negative. If a player is seeking validation, thinking that he's the only great player, and the coach sits him on the bench, his ego is destroyed.
He says polygamy isn't sinful, it's spiritual. One man, one woman might just be a Western illusion. African men must return to their roots unapologetically.
Is it going back to ancient Egypt? Is it going back to the Great Zimbabwe? Is it going back to the Wagado Empire or the Songhai Empire, which are known to be some of the greatest of African civilizations and African societies?
Get ready for passion, purpose, and pure fire.
If the man is emotionally capable, he has the capacity, his economic status is very sound to the point to where he can provide for those women. I think that is in his bandwidth to do.
This is the Diaspora Conversation Podcast, and today, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is in the building. Let's talk about it. Jeremiah, so do you believe that African men should have more than one wife?
I wouldn't necessarily phrase it as just an African man. I would say more so that the righteous man should have, if he chooses, if he's capable, to have more than one wife.
Capable? What makes a man capable of having more than one wife?
Well, it's holistic. So if the man is emotionally capable, he has the capacity. He's a temperate man. He doesn't get angry quick. He has the amount of, we'll say, income, okay. or his economic status is very sound to the point to where he can provide for those women. I think that is in his bandwidth to do.
A lot of women are saying that polygamy is outdated and oppressive. What would you say to that?
Well, I think oppression is a tough thing when it comes to structures. I think that oppression is found in misuse. I don't think it's found in a specific structure. First and foremost, I think when you're talking about the system or the family structure of polygamy, right, as you phrased it, I think it's first important that we define it, right? Polygamy is a situation into which both the man and the woman can have multiple partners. Polygyny is something to which just the man has.
Okay.
But nevertheless, I think when you talk about polygyny in that sense of oppression, even a man that practices monogamy can abuse his wife, can rape his wife, can harm his wife. And that would be that form of oppression. But I think that when you talk about the systems, you should talk about them in the most positive light. Because it's not the systems when it comes to negativity, but it's more so the people that involve themselves in that system, which is the issue. So therefore, a monogamous situation, quote unquote, can be oppressive. A polygynous system, quote unquote, can be oppressive if the people in it are doing the oppression. You understand?
Okay. Back in the day, right, a lot of our parents had multiple wives, right? And in this day and age, a lot of women feel like, it should be one man to one woman. Why do you think that it is important for us to go back to those days? Because that's something that you believe in.
Well, I think it just depends. I think that when you say go back to those days, I think what's important that we define what going back to those days may mean. Is it going back to ancient Egypt? Is it going back to the Great Zimbabwe? Is it going back to the Wagado Empire or the Songhai Empire, which are known to be some of the greatest of African civilizations and African societies, which were prime in its polygyny. So if that's what we're talking about going back to, when Africa was at its height, then I would say yes, let's go back. But if we're talking about going back to maybe a system into which women were not comfortable with that system, it'll be very challenging for us to kind of find what that is, at least in the polygynous sense.
I also feel like, in those days, or even when you talk about, if the man is wealthy enough to take care of some of the women,
yeah.
Sometimes the women have no choice because they're not working. Yes, there's a man that says, I love you, I want to marry you.
Yeah.
And so they have no choice. They're like, yeah, let's do it. But really deep down, they don't have anything of their own. That's why they're enduring being a second wife or a third wife. Yeah.
But I also think it's important that maybe we, because there's different types of polygynies over time, right? There's polygyny as it pertains to maybe Christianity, where there's laws in Deuteronomy, around the framework of polygyny, or having more than one wife. Then there's also frameworks in Islam into which the framework is. For instance, in Islam, you can have only up to 4 wives, at least as the jurisprudence says. Christianity, you can have more than 4 wives. In Islam, you have to be equitable, right, to all of the wives in terms of time, in terms of assets, inheritance, etc. And other systems you don't, right? So, there are situations where women may be forced, but it just depends on what civilization or what society that's in. Obviously, I'm not for a situation into which a woman may be forced into that structure. Obviously, that's wrong. But then again, I think that when it comes to a quote-unquote woman being forced, is her being forced because she has no other choice in terms of her assets or in terms of maybe her capacity to provide for herself? If that's the case, then that's in alignment with the biblical scriptures. In Isaiah 4, verse 1, it says that 7 women will cling to one man, and she will say that, take away my reproach. She doesn't even ask for provision, actually. She says, just give me your name, and then I'll be okay. So it's interesting, when it comes to prophecy and the family structures and how, especially when the nation is under judgment and how the world is trickling down right now. And some people say it's the end times, and it's an interesting thing when you really get into it, because you can find yourself taking a whole nother reevaluation of what's the proper family structure.
You say Islam, you can have up to 4 wives. How do you spread your time between the wives so that emotionally one is not thinking that you're spending more time with one wife or another?
Well, I think the type of woman also, is very important when you're talking about polygyny structure. I don't think that you partake in that structure with women that may seek validation through exclusivity. That can get dangerous. For instance, in football, if a player is seeking validation, thinking that he's the only great player, and the coach sits him on the bench, his ego is destroyed. Right. So I think that when you talk about marrying a woman or marrying more than one woman, that woman has to identify love with more than just exclusivity. She can't necessarily think that her worth is in that. I think that she should be secure in her worth and believe that her worth rests in her own, self-love and her own love for God, and how that reveals itself in her day-to-day life. So, and you have to have a concept of good or evil for someone to be angry with those things, right? But if a woman says that I'm in a situation and I have a man and he has multiple wives, and I see my events that fall under me as just cause and effect versus good or evil, I then disconnect myself from that chain of anger and happiness, because those things change, right? People change. We're dealing with human nature. So if I cling on, or I attach myself to one being, or I attach myself to one title position, and that position relies on human nature, then that can be a very dangerous thing if that exclusivity is what I define my love on.
Right. Does it matter being the first wife? Do you get any kind of entitlement for being the first wife before the second wife?
I think biblically you do, but in the Quran, in our tradition, in the ATR as well, African traditional religion, it varies. According to my knowledge of the Quran, there's no quote unquote difference, right? Okay. There is something to which, the first wife is seen as the matriarch, and that's maybe the small nuance there. The matriarch has to be someone that is very open and inviting to the other woman. She understands the mission. She understands the vision. She should understand the nation building energy to the point where she may say, hey, look, come over here, let me teach you this. This is what he likes, this is what he doesn't like. And in a sense, it challenges your character, right? Some people may say that, polygyny breeds, secrecy, and it breeds jealousy, and it breeds, all of these negative things. But actually,
sometimes it does.
Well, actually, it challenges those things. It's just a different perspective, right?
Okay.
They say, oh, it breeds that. What we're saying is that it challenges those things. And in Islam, it says, it's saying that marriage is not just for procreation, but it's for the challenging of the ego, the refining of the character. It's for you to get in and to say, okay, what is the things that I need to work on, right? So if a woman is in a polygynous structure and her issue is jealousy, it challenges that to the point, and if she accepts that challenge, right, she then takes on spiritual discipline. She says, wow, maybe this is something I need to refine, right? Okay. And on the flip side of it, it's actually monogamy that may breed the jealousy, right? I have one, this is, nobody will touch my, right? And to be honest, this secrecy only is the result of cowardness, right? So when a man is being secretive, right? In the U.S., we have a very high rate of cheating and adultery, and it's the man is afraid nowadays to be able to express himself. So therefore, he finds it in other places, and it's not necessarily creating the right results.
But someone would say that managing one wife is hard enough. Then adding more. I would say that it's simpler.
Really? Yeah, I would say that it's simpler. I would say that managing, it's similar to, and I didn't say it's easier, right? But I said it's simpler. Okay. Because that same energy that you put towards planning this, planning that, planning this for one woman, right? You leave the house, you got to report to one woman. You leave, right? But you may have maybe 2 or 3 wives, and you have to answer to this one and say, hey, look, I'm going to such and such. And you may leave the house and you may have some business to do, right? But this one doesn't trip or she doesn't worry because she knows, obviously, that you may be with the other wife, or this one says that you may be with this one. And in terms of assets, I think it's more of a planning, a group planning. Communities do it all the time, actually, where they'll get together in the community and they say, let's all give $20 each day, and then on Friday we collected $20, and each time we'll give it to a different person. So it's more of a planning thing, or it requires more organization, it requires more focus in terms of the man. But I think that's what I was talking about in terms of the character being. I think it's a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about raising kids? How do you not get the kids jealous of, the other siblings from the other mothers? How do you manage that as well? Make sure that your children are close to each other as a family, and close to their mother and father. Yeah,
well, I think it's, and I'm not an expert on polygyny, but I think that it does rest on how you build the family homes. Right. So whether it is, maybe this one lives in the U.S. or this one lives in Ghana or this one lives, I think that it varies, right? If you all base them in one place, and say for instance you have 4 wives, or you max out in Islam, and you have 4 houses on one compound, and then there's a center area where you meet. That may be preferable, because then all of the children get to know each other, they see each other every day, they see one mother as the other mother, and it's a community versus maybe you may say, oh, this guy's just trying to take over whatever, right? But I think that there's a beauty in community and in sisterhood, and you take those 2 examples in a monogamous structure and a polygynous structure, and you say, here's this man and here's this woman, here's this man and here's these women, right? And and take these children as well, right? These children and these children. Likely this man will have more children, right? like this man will have less children. But now, maybe do an exercise, maybe take away the man, right?
Okay.
So take away the man from both, right? Now you have 4 wives, and you have 1 woman, she's alone with her children. These 4 wives are now with each other, right, on this compound that I spoke of, quote unquote, and now they're actually raising their children together. So there's a sense of sisterhood and reliance, but also this kind of safety as well that comes with the system, I believe.
Okay. So is Jeremiah married?
I don't reveal my personal business online. I think you'll have to dig into that.
But would you marry 4 wives?
Would I? Yes, I would.
You would?
Yes. I don't necessarily shy away from, but that's the timidness. In Revelations, it talks about the characteristic traits for those that will go into damnation and eternal fire, and timidity was one of them. And oftentimes today, men are afraid because whether they are attached to the woman or they are in a sense of delusion in terms of, hey, look, I can't talk to another woman, or I don't want to be able to, right? But ultimately, like, the woman just wants honesty. I think, at least in my point of view, in my mindset, obviously, I don't want to put my opinions on anybody else, but I just share them as they're asked.
So, if a Christian person was interested in you, would you consider marrying them?
Would I consider marrying them? Yes.
Okay.
Is it likely that I marry them? It's questionable.
Yeah,
it's questionable because so I live in the U.S., right?
Okay.
And in the U.S., Christianity is different than it may be in a traditional setting. Right. There's more non-denominational Catholic. I went to Catholic university, so I got to partake as well. I'm now Muslim by conversion, but I would more rather maybe marry a Muslim woman who has spent her time devoting herself to her principles and her core self versus maybe taking a Christian sister and a beautiful sister, beautiful souls. But obviously, I think it's within kind of the framework and where I want to raise my children in the Quran, and I don't want any loops there to get out.
Okay. Okay. So, if your wives are watching right now,
Okay.
What would you want them to know about your heart and your vision for them?
It's not about the numbers, right? It's about the nation building. It's not about the vibes, right? It's about the values. It's about the vision.
And quote.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's not. People think it's about the lust a lot of times when they think of polygyny, but it's about leadership. It's about it's about being a beacon of light. It's not what people think it should be. And I think that if we look at both family structures from the most positive side, I think that we'll come out with a different view of it. Because usually when we approach marriage and look at the two systems, we think of it from a negative standpoint. Oh, I know somebody that, I was a part of. These are the things we say, but at the end of the day, if we were to do those statistics realistically, I know somebody that didn't like, these parents, they did it. Well, I know probably 50 times more in a monogamous structure that also their children aren't okay. Right. These parents aren't okay. The divorce rate in the United States is not okay. Right? So there's, again, if we were to do the statistics, I try to stay away from those because it'll be off balanced. But when it comes to, marriage, I think it's very important that we should just rely on the positive sides of it. Understand the negatives, but rely on the positive sides and see if you can practice whatever you're practicing to the highest capability of that thing.
So you grew up as a Christian, right? Your mom is a prayer warrior, and your dad is a pastor, right? What made you switch, or what made you become, do the Islam?
So I grew up, like you said, in a Christian home. But for me, as I got into college, I minored in theology at the University of Notre Dame. And I also got into the study of different African traditional religions as well, such as Ifa, the Dogon, the Akum, as it is in the Akan system. And I just started to study from, an objective side. Okay. And I realized that a religion wasn't just a spiritual thing, but I also realized religion was spirit. It was lifestyle, it was family structure, it was legacy, it was finance, it was identity, right? It was all of these different things. So when I took an evaluation, especially of history, I said, let me figure out, because I feel like I'm a Pan-Africanist, right? I like Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Lumumba. I like these guys, So, and I was in school and I was like, man, let me take an evaluation of our history and when Africa was at its height. And you'll find that Africa, the civilizations that were on top were either traditional African religion or it was either Islam. Okay. There's very few that was Christian. There's one, the Axum Empire, which was the Ethiopian Empire, and they did it a certain way. And then another was Carthage. Carthage was a Phoenician mixed kind of with Greece but when we were at our height, this was the religion that we practiced. So I wanted to know, and I dove into it, and ultimately I said, wow, I like the way that they do finance, no interest, and, I like the way that they do inheritance, okay, I like the way that they do the family structure, and I saw that a lot of the young youths that I had met, these guys were geniuses. These guys memorized the Quran by 8 years old and 12 years old, and so they took a lot of, for me it took a lot because I'm the only Muslim in my family, like the only one. Like people like, oh, I'm the only, but it's like 10 of them. Like, no, I'm like literally the only one. But yeah, that was my process. That was my process. It was a historical one. It was a personal conviction. It was a cultural one. I saw that a lot of the times that Islam was practiced in West Africa, it was practiced alongside the traditional African religion. And as I, took an evaluation, I said, wow, like this ideology, maybe even more simpler to teach my children inside of my identity. Right. Because for me, your identity comes first, not your religion. And that's just my personal ideology. I would rather see my religion through my identity versus see my religion or see my, my religion or the flip side. Yeah. So like for me, it's always, okay, I was born African. I was born under a African soil as my ancestors were. Right. And I should see everything through that lens.
Okay. How would you see the modern African man?
Well, I try my best not to define things in a monolith. So like there is the African man, but then there's the African diasporic man. Then there's the West African man. Then there's the Ghanaian man. Then there's the Akan man. Then there's the Bone. Like so, there's very much so a lot of nuances. If you say to me, how do I see the African diasporic NFL Black African man, then I can maybe give you a clear dynamic of that. But it's on you to ask because that's me. So how do you see the? Yeah, and I'm around those people, so I can have a very clear understanding on who they are.
So who are they?
Well, they're people that are searching. I would say I'm a searcher. All of the brothers that's in the NFL that's with me, that's from Africa, or that have the linkage, whether it's lineage or whether it's past lineage, they are searching. They're exploring. They want to come back to Africa. They want to, know the traditions. Hey, woo, can I wear one of those kentes? Hey, what's that you got on? What does that symbol mean? They're searchers, and in their course of searching, there's a battle. There's discipline. There's sacrifice. We are in a training ground, I like to say. I think that the United States is one of the greatest training grounds that was ever built for men like myself that want to search and that want to explore and that take an evaluation of the society that's around them, right? And then for us in the NFL, man, it's a journey because we're literally being taught everything that we need to know within the sport, right? But yet, less than 99% of us actually see it, right? We are in a sport, one sport into which we're on one team with one name, different backgrounds, but we gather together for one mission to win,
True.
right? With rules and regulations, right? And a jersey with a name on the back, a certain color, and we unite.
Right.
Look how well, right, the African diaspora man unites when it comes
To
the sport,
yeah.
right? And we take the sacrifice and we blood, shed, cry, and I die for this. And we say all these things, and it's very passionate and emotional, and there's a whole dynamic that, the fans come out and you, right?
It's adrenaline,
right? It's a whole entire, mission.
Yeah.
But then we step outside of the game, right? And we oftentimes forget how to unite. We oftentimes forget that there was a scoreboard. We oftentimes forget that there's a sense of urgency, that the clock is running out.
Right.
Hey, don't forget, right?
Sure.
And it's interesting, right? I mean, we'll spend hours and hours watching film on our opponents, right?
Who are your enemies?
Right?
Yeah.
We spend hours learning their tendencies, learning what they do,
It's true.
who they are, and we take notes, and then we're ready to execute the game plan.
Yeah.
We spend hours preparing, off season, on season, blah, 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 blah. But then we step away from the game, and that sense of identity leaves.
Yeah.
Because our identity is oftentimes in the attachment of the sport, so that when the off season hits, you see a lot of the athletes get in trouble in the off season, right? Down in Florida, Miami, right? And but it's a journey at the end of the day, right? Some scholars don't believe that there's two paths in Islam. Some scholars believe there's one path, and that when you're astray, right, you're actually going just the opposite way, right? So like there's the call, right, and the call there's a call for prayer, and you stop what you're doing and you go to the right. There's a call to the religion, so you stop all of the dirt or quote unquote things that you're doing and go towards the religion, right? The same thing with, with Africa. There's a call. Yeah. Right? There's a call to say, stop what you're doing. Hey, give mindful of me. There's a call that says, hey, come visit me every now and then. Hey, there's a call that say, hey, look, we speak through the breeze. We speak through the soil, right? Yeah. So it's there's a call that we need to answer. I think the modern day man, me myself, I'm still answering the call. I'm still in the process.
How do you see the African woman modern?
Okay, so it was a touchy one,
Why is it a touchy one?
It was a touchy one because I'm not a woman.
But so you see us, you work with us, you're with a lot of women. Yes,
but I'm also aware that I can't debate experience, right? Just hear me out. Like I can't necessarily debate or give certain thoughts, right, on things that I can't necessarily experience. So I may say, yes, this woman is X, Y, and Z. But if I don't necessarily understand their experience, remember, that's why I went back to the NFL player, because I understand the experience of the player, so I can speak on it. But if I'm not the African woman, I don't understand what it feels like to be in those clothes, or I don't understand what it feels like to walk and to be in that space into which the African woman is. Okay. It's very difficult for me to speak on it, right? But yes, right, I can speak from my own lens. Okay. I see that the African woman is a hustler. I see when I come to Ghana, specifically, the woman, she is taking on a lot of roles, I would say. Taking on a lot of roles that we as men aren't fulfilling. My teacher personally says that if the family rises, it's upon the woman. But if the family falls, it's upon the man. And the responsibility of any damnation or any, degradation belongs to the man. So like when I look at the woman and I look at how hard she's working and taking on different hats and I often say, wow, dang, this woman is doing what she's doing. Like I see why, so many women at Jesus' crucifixion, because oftentimes women are the best helpers, Right. Honorable Priest Kailash always says that to me. He always says the woman is the best helper. And it's because when the African woman sees a visionary, I mean, look at Kwame Nkrumah. Yeah. Look how many women was the reason for his success. African woman, market woman, right, funding his campaign, right. Yeah. So like there's this eye, you know, that the ancient and the modern African woman has that she's looking through, right, searching for what I believe is that masculine leader again.
There's a lot of African women who are single, who are really about their job, right? Really about, you know, climbing the ladder and being successful and not really looking at marriage per se. What would you say these things are happening now? Like before, women would get married very young, right? But now it seems to be getting older, and some of them might not even get married.
Yeah. I would say that it's because of a couple of different factors. I would say that it's because of influence. Influence in terms of the feminist gaze. That's just what I call it. Okay. So there's a mission to be able to be successful or compete with the opposite gender. I want the same as. I want to be the same as. I want to have the same control. I want to have the, the same impact, right? I think it's one factor, but then also I think that is another factor is that because those places are empty, I have to fulfill them. If I'm a single mother, I have to climb the ladder. I don't, there's another choice for me. If I'm a woman from, the Zongo community in the Eastern region or something, and my family doesn't have, the right capacity to take care, I must climb the ladder, right? So there's different nuances. Different women are doing it for different reasons. Some women necessarily don't have to climb the ladder, right? But they choose to climb the ladder because they feel it's the only image that will gain them respect. So there's so many different, I think, levels to where we're at today. And honestly, I think that the solution has to start with the young, which is why, obviously I do what I do in terms of our young sons and our young daughters, because education originally was just supposed to better the society, to educate, youth is to pick a problem in your society and solve it. Right? We call it a problem to solution. And that's what other nations do. They take their youth, they educate them, they maybe send them out, bring them back in, or like Japan, they keep them in, bring teachers in, right? Teach them up, and then they rise up and they better the society and ultimately better the nation. So that's what I would say for that. Okay,
Jeremiah, you've visited Ghana many, many, many times. What keeps you coming back home?
Wow. I feel like when I'm in Ghana, it reminds me of just who I am. I don't have to put on the veil of assimilation or when I land in Ghana, I feel that there's something vibrating in the ground. I feel my purpose, I feel my mission, I feel my roots, I feel that the ancestors are here, and they are here. And, when I'm riding to Ibri, or when I'm riding to the Eastern region, or I'm taking a flight to Tamale, or going to Mole, or wherever I'm at, Half-Assini, wherever I'm at, in Ghana, there seems like this sense of belonging. It's natural. And there's opportunity. So, usually men go and women go to places where they feel there's opportunity. They go to places where they feel as though that they are respected and belong. So that's for me personally what I feel that Ghana is for me. My coaches call me and players call me like, "Hey, still in Ghana? How long are you gonna be in Ghana?" So that's what it is for me, though. Okay. Yeah.
You've always said that you want to raise your family on the continent and in Ghana.
Yeah.
What makes you say that? Why do you want to do that? As somebody that was born in Virginia, raised in America.
Yeah.
Why not America? Why on the continent?
I would want, again, like prime education, right? I think growing up, for me, obviously, I grew up in the United States, and I didn't have the language. I didn't have the elders I didn't have the traditions. I didn't have the legacy of what it means to wear the gold, or wear the kente, or wear the traditional cloths, or sing the songs.
But you showed us.
Yeah, but there's when you talk about building a family, you know what I mean? Like when you talk about building a family, there's a thing into which you can give them that you didn't have. That's like always the main thing, right? I want my children to be born better than me. Now, not depleting America. America is, like I said, one of the best places to be able to understand the reality of the world, because it sits into which it reach out to every country. Right? Every country is in it. It's a melting pot of cultures and different people. And in our locker room, we have Hawaiians, we have Asians, we have, there's a conglomerate of understandings there. So when I talk about raising a family, I do want my children to experience America, but I also want them to have those things into which I didn't have in growing up, and to show them what it feels like to grow up as a builder and as an opportunist versus maybe a consumer, and just receiving information. But I want them to be able to be involved and ingrained in nature and classes outside, and really involve themselves and to being great men and great women.
So you definitely raise your children on the continent, in Ghana.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. What do you think that African Americans and Africans in the diaspora are missing by not reconnecting to the motherland?
Just reconnection. This reconnection is memory. Memory is powerful. Memory allows you to understand your ABCs, your basics, your fundamentals. It's what they're missing. Obviously, missing is subjective in a sense, because some women and some men believe they have it all, right? And you can't necessarily convince somebody that believes they have it all. In the Quran, it says, whether you warn them or you warn them not, yet they will not believe. So there's, again, what do I believe that they are missing? I believe that they're missing the memory and the energy and the spirit into which they need to be able to really reach the point and the height, right? It's the call, right? They're missing the ear to hear the call, right? The call to return, right? And whatever that listening requires of them, it will bring memory, it will bring reconnection. That's what I would say that they're missing. I wouldn't say that they're missing finances or they're missing, a certain plot of this and a certain plot of that. It's
the reconnection.
It's just a reconnection.
Yeah. You've always spoken about harnessing the mind, the body, spirit, and you've done that through Inquay as well, your foundation. How does the African environment support the harmony of a better, if it's better than the West?
Yeah, so Inquay is based obviously in Ghana.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is because it's the first understanding of Inquay is life, right? But it's not just life as we see it in just English, life, right? But it's the totality of life, right? So with Inquay, crazy enough, we looked at the acronyms and we said, wait, this is literally life. So we said the N is our nature, right? It's who we're born as. Wow, the K, that's the progression from the nature on to looking at the nature, learning, right? Having the knowledge. And then once that knowledge is appropriately applied and understood to the highest capacity, then that's the wisdom. As I say, wisdom is knowledge applied.
Right.
So once the wisdom manifests at its height, then there comes the advancement.
Wow.
Right? Okay. So literally life, Inquay, NKWA.
Yeah.
And Africa in the, at least in the Western mind, is an unmodified soil. It's a beautiful sun. There's the spirit there. There's the tradition there. There's the herbs. There's the barefoot connection, right? So in our nonprofit organization, these are the core principles that we teach. We want to teach you your nature. We want to give you the knowledge. We want to tell you how to apply the knowledge, and we want to tell you how to solve problems to push for advancement.
I love that.
Yeah.
You're also a vegan.
Well, I'm vegan. About 4 and some change. About 4 years and some change.
4 years and some change.
Yeah, about 4 years.
What made you convert to being a vegan?
Yeah. So the vegan journey, it started off different. Obviously, when I started, I just wanted to kind of find a way to be unique amongst my peers, and wanted to find a way to separate myself, but also I wanted to find a way. And this is my younger years, so I wasn't as mature.
Your younger years, you're only 25.
Well, I was 21.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So in those 21 years, and as you know, the brain changes when you hit that 25 lens. But I wanted to kind of just be this exclusive guy, right? Not the proper way to do it, but when I did it, I started to learn more about nature, right? I started to learn about the simplicity and the kindness towards nature and what that did to my meditations and my spirit, right? I started, again, remember I was studying theology very, very at an intensive level. And then you study, Jesus, and you wonder why this guy is at the Passover, traditionally lamb, and he's like, I'm the lamb, but take the bread and this is my body. Yeah, he could have held up a lamb chop, but nevertheless, right? You see it in the high connection, whether it's Buddha, whether it is these very high spiritual monks, and these guys are like, not touching the animal and identifying the blood with something that's sacred, and that's usually kind of the understanding there. But for me, it was more so of just finding a way to take care of my body and just take care of myself, and obviously I've been able to sustain it in the NFL, and a lot of guys have come on board in terms of really seeing the facilities advance. And what I mean by that is, like, when you went into the Cleveland Browns facility my first year versus now, I mean, there's a bunch of vegan stuff everywhere, and it's kind of nice, but it's good.
No, but you don't allow anybody to eat any meat around you, Jeremiah.
Well, to me, meat is sacred, though. To me, it's like meat is sacred, and meat has an energy to it, right? So you'll see some videos online where the meat be moving, So it has an energy to it, right? There's a certain happiness, or there's a certain trauma that the animal was in at the time of killing, which is why in Islam you have something that's called halal meat, right? There's a certain way that you kill it to where it doesn't necessarily, it shouldn't be a drop of crying that should happen. So there's a bunch of different metrics to which to kill the meat to be able to at least consume it. But
so will all your wives be vegan?
Oh, it's mandatory. Is that the oppression I was talking about?
Yes. Okay, so let's talk more about Inquay and the work that you're doing for the youth. I mean, you've made a huge impact. The players that you bring, it's not just about football. It's spiritual. It's education. It's a whole holistic thing that you're doing in terms of the foundation. How do you see the next few years of Inquay growing?
Well, I see it growing at a great level, really just because we have a lot more guys on ground now. We have a sound understanding of the Ghanaian system and how NGOs operate. We have developed the back end of the structure, but also I believe that it'll progress just because it's destiny. I do believe that there's a sense of knowing that our organization and our back office have with the sport of football and other sports, but also with education, because education and mentorship is something that we set aside as very unique unto us, and that we believe that'll excel us in the future. So we're looking to build infrastructure. Obviously, there's the project that we want to happen in Tamale, and there's the project that we want to have here in Accra, and we want to reach all 16 regions eventually. So these are like the baby steps that we're moving to kind of meet the big tree that we want there. So speaking broadly, of course.
Yes.
There's
a lot in the pipeline.
There's a lot in the pipeline, and it's and it requires sacrifice. It requires community, and it requires discipline. It requires all of those principles that we speak about and we preach about, and at some point, God willing, we'll see that come to manifest.
Okay. What has the game football taught you about leadership, and how do you use that in your normal day life?
Okay. Well, it's taught fairness. It's taught communication, even in marriage, right? Communication is very key. And as a linebacker, in which I am, you have to be the heart of the defense, similar to the quarterback. The linebacker is the quarterback on defense, and he has to communicate effectively. He has to communicate to where everybody can hear him. So he may have to turn this direction, or he may have to turn this direction, or he may have to turn that direction. He may have to move himself in different places to be able to communicate soundly so that his teammates can understand. So football has a lot of small nuances, man, even as far as how the field is set up. And I mean, it's so much small different. I wish I could just, maybe write a book here soon on
I think you should.
The intricacies that football has and why it is that it seems like it's so similar to life and war and military. And you take these names, and the Dolphins and the Ravens and all these primal war animals, really just to understand that love is war, war is love, life is war. Right. And that's what it teaches. It teaches that reality.
Would you allow your children to be footballers?
Flag football.
Huh?
Flag football.
Flag football. What's that? What do you mean?
Maybe not the contact sport, because I think that you can get a lot of those principles that we experience in the contact sport, in the flag football. But also, I think other sports are also beneficial as well. But
what ways does Inquay reflect your identity as an African?
Well, I think I just spoke a little bit about it. Inquay is the epitome of what community should be, on what a society should be, or what a nation should be. So you have to rely on your brother, you have to rely on your sister, and it works towards solving issues. That's the main thing we want to do, is solve issues, because that's true intelligence. True intelligence isn't, you thinking that you have a certain IQ, but true intelligence is taking water deprivation, figuring out, studying, taking an audit, and figuring out how to solve that issue. And then you should be labeled as intelligence. That's the most intelligent man in the world, because he can solve a lot of issues.
Right. Yeah. You've been doing donations. You're always donating, but I think this is one of the biggest one that I've heard you do, which is, support 15,000 people in Tamale, where you gave out donations, rice, oil, so many things. What makes you keep giving? What makes Jeremiah keep giving and giving so big?
Duty. I think it's duty and responsibility. In our tradition, in Islam, it says that you will be judged upon what we have given you, or what you have spent out of what we have given you. And that giving is your provision. That giving is your mental capacity, your emotions, how we formed your body. How did you spend with that? And for me, that's the spiritual side of all of this, is that while I am doing nonprofit work, I am creating infrastructure and systems to which should live on after me. There is a spiritual side of what the businessman should be. There's the righteous entrepreneur, as the Honorable Priest Kailash would say, the righteous entrepreneur.
Yes.
Shout
out to Priest, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Priest. But that's the interesting thing about this thing, right? Whether you're a businessman, whether you're a monogamous man, whatever you are, right? Just do it righteously. And if you do it righteously, there's a whole nother dynamic to what can come out of that, right? We've seen so long corrupt businessmen, corrupt politicians, corrupt this, corrupt that, corrupt this. It's like, when are we going to see the successful, right, businessman, the successful billionaire, the successful trillionaire that's all righteous? Right? Like, have we ever seen a righteous trillionaire and billionaire, and these men that we read about, right? Solomon and all these people, right? And it's half of the time it's because of our perspective. We take those verses like, slaves, be submissive to your masters. Yeah. We take the verses improperly. It's, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who don't have for, so these things, I think that we should take a whole different imagination, or and evolve it. Just revolutionize it. Do something different with your perspective. If you see that it has not been productive.
Right. I see you as a politician. I
No,
see you
no,
as
no,
going
politician.
into politics. Would you ever go into politics?
Nah. I just came back from the north. They say nah. They say nah with everything.
Really?
It's like I don't know if it's a greeting. They usually say it nah. It's Dagbani, I think. Nah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say yes. I think that it's a cause and effect thing, right? If the scope leads me there, right? If the spirit leads me there, then I'll do it. But if not, then I'll continue in the work that I'm doing and trying to build from the educational side and the sports.
President of Ghana.
No. I think you gotta be born in Ghana, right? I think to be a president.
Well, you have your Ghana citizenship.
Yeah, I got the citizenship, but I think I have to be born.
Anything is possible.
Inshallah.
Okay, I have some few questions for you. Short, sweet answers that I need from you. Don't overthink it, Jeremiah. Okay. So, if a woman says, "I'm not sharing my man," what would you say back to her?
I would say, it was a great time speaking with you. I love your energy. I love your beautiful sister. But I thank you. And I'll just conclude.
That's it?
Because you don't argue, right? You don't necessarily argue. I think that if love is only powerful when it's exclusive, right? As I just spoke about. Right. If love is only power when it's exclusive, then it isn't divine, right? It's then just ego. Right? The love is it's egoic. So it's no need to debate with the sister.
Okay.
It's a good sister, love you, appreciate you, but
Bye.
it's just not.
That's what you're basically saying. Okay. What's your message to pastors who preach that polygamy is sinful?
I would say that there's only a few righteous men in the Bible with one wife. I would say that you have Lot, in which his wife turned into salt. Mm-hmm. You have Job, into which his wife told him to curse God. You have Adam, and we know the story with Eve. But I'm not nevertheless, obviously, Abraham was a friend of God. He had multiple wives. David was the beloved of God. He had multiple wives. Solomon was known as the wisest man. Obviously, in the biblical canon, it says that he went astray. In the Quranic canon, it says that he came back. But nevertheless, I do believe that it's something of worth, right? And obviously, when you get into the Messiah, right, mm-hmm. He tells the famous parable. The disciples come up to him and they ask, what shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto? He says, the kingdom of heaven shall be likened unto 10 virgins, which 5 of them, mm-hmm. Have oil in their lamps. 5 asked, hey, can we have some oil? And he said, no, we're waiting for our bridegroom to come. And it seems that 5 bridegroom make it to the one bridegroom. And this is Jesus telling the parable. So I don't know, it seems like polygyny is normal in that very much way, but I would tell the pastor that polygyny is not a sin, right? Injustice is a sin. Lust-driven marriage is a sin. And I would conclude it there. I would say let's just stop interpreting the scriptures in a way that is very Greco-Roman in that term.
Okay. All right. What would you say to an American woman who thinks your beliefs are wild and disrespectful to women?
I would.
Or women in general.
Yeah, I mean, I would more so just say, like, I wish that you would respect my beliefs. I would respect yours. I won't debate with yours. If you think that, it's disrespectful to women, I would counter and I would, just say, hey, there's many other things that are disrespectful to women. But me seeking to build families and build nations, I don't think that's disrespectful. What's wild is Netflix and chill. That's wild. But other than that, I mean, I wouldn't say too much. I would say that my mission is just trying to be restorative. And in Islam, there's a hadith that says that every action shall be judged by its intention. Okay. And I would say to you, you don't know my intention, sister. Sister, ask me my intention, please.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's say you have 3 wives.
Yeah.
How would you make each of them feel equally loved and honored?
Well, I don't necessarily believe in equality in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah, whole nother spin to it.
Really?
Yeah, I believe in it being equitable.
Okay.
Yeah, so like everybody requires something different. You see? So if it's equal, then I give everybody the same exact home. If it's equal, I give everybody the same exact car. I give everybody the same exact time, right? But equitable, right, is something into which I give this person the right amount of time that they need. I give this person the right amount of investment that they need. I give this person the right amount of space. I give this person a customized home according to what they like. I give this person a customized quarter into which they like. Customized care, customized strategy. It's tailored to them versus a copy and paste love. I'm not in agreement with copy and paste love.
Lastly, what would you say to those who believe that polygamy is a recipe for drama and divorce?
Polygyny, as it is in the family structure, is organization, it's structure, right? It's discipline, right? Drama and divorce live in the absence of organization, structure, discipline, right? So it's counterproductive, right? Divorce follows ego, right? It doesn't follow a structure or family structure. So divorce can't follow polygyny, right? Divorce must follow ego, negativity, jealousy, hate. Okay. Polygyny done wrong, right, leads to hell. I would say that monogamy that's done wrong leads to hell. But both systems done right, right? Both systems done right, is a divine system of harmony, growth, and eternal legacy.
I recently saw an article online that this American woman had married 2 husbands. Is that right? Is that okay for a woman to marry 2 husbands?
Depends on what culture you come from. In the African civilization, depending on which African civilization, for instance, the Dahomey used to do that. So in that culture, it could be okay. But in the African culture that I come from, in Ghana, it's not okay. Or the Akans, it's not okay. According to Islam, it's not okay. And I think according to nature and biology, the woman has one hymen. And if the hymen is in some way, or the virginity is in some way connected to love, if she has just one and it breaks, the man that breaks that is in theory supposed to be the man that she's with for the rest of her life. On the flip side of that, I can't tell when the man is a virgin or not. Let's just deal with I can't tell when a man is a virgin or not. If he says it, maybe yes. But when it comes to the biology of the man and the woman, right? The woman has to rest postnatal, prenatal, right? During her period, right? She has to rest, or the man can't go into her, at least according to the Bible, during her menstrual cycle, right? But the man doesn't have those. Why? I don't know. I'm not saying it's a case for polygyny, but I'm saying there's something to look at. There's something interesting there why the man can seem like he can work 24/7 or he can move 24/7. The man has something called the seed or the sperm, right? The woman has a womb or the earth. There's many seeds in the, I mean, I don't.
Wow. You're a doctor as well?
No, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I believe in love.
Okay.
Right? But I believe that love, true love, is taking an evaluation of your society and by all means figuring out what is it, right, that I can do to better my society? What is it that I can do to better my culture and my civilization? Dr. Amos Wilson said that true nationalism, right, true nationalism is not following African tradition or tradition at all just by blind obeisance. But true nationalism is saying that I will take an evaluation of my tradition, take out what is not productive, and add what is productive and functional. So for me, that's what I believe that I'm doing. I could be wrong. Everything I could be saying is wrong.
Do you think there's been a dilution because of the West?
I don't think that anybody that just takes a look at the world today would say that there's not a dilution. Right? I think that there's interference, there's dilution, there's puppets, there's all of these different things as we see it in reality. And that's just the we have to deal with those things, right? We have to take audits. We have to take time to sit down and study what exactly has happened to us, because it's a thing that has happened to us, and it's still happening to us. Yes, to answer your question, I think that it's obvious. Ghana has never, in its course, been a system into which that will ban polygyny. But if you try to get married civilly, you can't have more than one wife.
Right.
And a lot of African cultures do that. It's the same thing. I'm not sure where. Look at why Kwame Nkrumah named Ghana, right? He said, "Wow, man, this Ghanaian empire of ancient is a strong empire. We want that, right?" And look at the systems that were in. Look at the family structures that were in that Ghana empire, right? Let's be black stars. Let's be black stars. Let's take an evaluation of what we are, and let's take the blood, let's take the gold, and let's take the resources, as the red, the gold, and then the green says, yeah.
I like it. That was a very good conversation with Jeremiah.
Bless.
Thank you for joining me on the show. And he says, let's continue to be black stars. Thank you for watching the Diaspora Conversation Podcast.